Hello, everyone. I am Sashi Kumar from Indeed, and I'm extremely excited to welcome you all to Top Jobs in India 2.0, an Indeed and People Matters initiative to help people find jobs. For our new viewers, this is an initiative to showcase companies that are hiring right now and understand from their leaders the company's culture, their hiring plans for 2021, and key skill sets they're looking for. Today, I have the pleasure to have with us Akhilesh Nair, Global Hiring Leader at Genpact. Akhilesh, KVD as he's widely known, is passionate about driving business impact and building a business relevant for the future. He has been a serial entrepreneur and a multidisciplinary global business leader who currently spends his focus on building future leaders, driving large transformations, especially in HR, and is passionate about helping the digital startup community. I'm going to ask Akhilesh some really interesting questions to ensure that all our viewers who've joined us today understand Genpact a little better after this session. So thanks for joining us, Akhilesh, and thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you, Sashi, for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation and the engagement with you. And thanks, People Matters and Top Jobs. This is a wonderful platform, and I'm looking forward to engaging further.
Thanks, Akhilesh. To all our viewers, if you want to know anything specific about Genpact, please post your questions in the comment section, which is on the right side of the screen. If you're watching this episode either through our Facebook or YouTube channels, feel free to post your questions in the comment section. We'll try and answer most of the questions that you have. So, guys, keep the questions flowing. So let's get started, Akhilesh. My first question to you, we've been through some pretty troubling times over the last 1 year. How do you foresee the overall job market in India shaping up in the next 6 to 9 months?
It's a great question. I think the job market in India specifically is on the upswing. So we are actually very positive about it. Of course, this means competition, between employers is back on the market. But it's a great news for all the people seeking out jobs. There are more opportunities coming up. There's more more flexibility to look at talent in a different way. So the reality is today, if you're sitting in Bangalore, but the job is published for, let's say, Hyderabad, you don't need to relocate most of the times. These can be done remotely. So there's a new muscle that got developed because of COVID and how companies operated in a different way. So I'm very positive about India, especially with the young population that is there, and the graduate population that's there, or anyone, right? Anyone who wants to work. You don't need to worry about being in a tier 2, tier 3 city, or a so-called tier 1 city with think that jobs can only be in one place. So it's very positive. We are seeing good trends.
And that, Akhilesh, is music to ears right into the first 2 minutes of our conversation. Coming specifically to Genpact, what are the major roles you're planning to hire for the next few months?
See, all our roles are pretty transparent. They're public information. You go to careers at genpact.com, or you go to Indeed, or you go to Naukri, you'll find all our roles, right?
Yeah.
But what I would like to emphasize here on is what do we look for in people when we are looking to hire, right? When a company like Genpact is looking at a prospective employee, we are looking at talent in a different way, because we are not looking just for commodity. We are looking for assets, right?
True.
We are not looking for filling people on jobs, but we are looking for people who could be employed with us for a long time, build their careers, build their life, achieve new things. So we look for people who are naturally very curious. They want to learn new things. They have a high learnability. They have an innate thing of improving themselves and adding on new skills, because today you're doing a job, tomorrow, you know y- with the technology evolving, you will go to next skill, and probably what you're doing today is very basic, and you will get bored after some time, right? So that's one element that we look for. The other thing that we look for are people who are courageous. They speak up their mind from a standpoint that, hey, I have a point of view, I have an idea, I want to share, and they don't worry about sharing their ideas. They don't worry about contributing and collaborating. All right, and these are what I'm talking about. These kind of softer skills actually lend more to success in life than the
Yeah,
hard skills. So we look for those softer skills in our process. We look for, you might not know accounts payable process. You will not, right? You have never done it before. So for
yeah,
someone coming out of a university trying to get into accounts payable process, what will they know? They will, but what we can assess for is how they would react to a job, how they would work on a job, how they would collaborate with the peers that they have, how they would actually, follow processes and think about improving process. So that's what we look for.
sure. The learnability essentially.
Learnability, adaptability, how do they approach a problem statement, how do they work through challenges, how do they solve complex questions, and those are the things that actually drive us. So it's one of the key things that we as Genpact have created that I'm very very fond of is what we call CI square. That's our cultural framework. So it is basically C square I square, that.
Mhm.
So curious, courageous, incisive, and on the bedrock of integrity. These
Okay,
four things are something that we look for in a person, and integrity being very very important. So it is something that we as a company handle a lot of confidential thing for our clients. We handle a lot of payment processes, a lot of data, and that one portion is something that we are very very careful of.
true. That's great insight, Akhilesh. No, sort of just going back to your first question,
Yeah.
you did say that location is going to possibly be a little less relevant going forward. How does in the Indian job market overall, how does that
Hmm.
translate specifically for Genpact? Are there any major locations that you're planning to hire for, or as you said, remote workforce, or are you looking at sort of opening up most of your roles so that it's open to people who are looking to work remotely?
Yeah. So again, this is a question of evolution. I think every business like Genpact is actually going through that evolution phase,
Yeah,
and the reality is right now we are more or less in a hybrid model already, where
yeah,
there are few processes and there are few things that you really cannot get it done from homes where you can't prove everything, right? There's some
true,
confidential information that can't be seen by anyone, by even by mistake, right? And
true,
but there are certain very transactional processes which can be done from everywhere, which don't hold that much of confidentiality or any kind of sensitivity. So the reality is that this will be very much case in point, what kind of process, what kind of client regulation, what kind of a lot of work that we do also are under the purview of government regulation. So what kind of
true.
government regulation of that particular country applies and things like that of thing being processed is very important. Our objective is to ensure that as we move forward and once this pandemic completely subsides and everything is back to whatever is a new normal, okay, which we all will figure out at some time in life, we are able to give the flexibility that people want
Yeah,
while still operating a very ethical, compliant business. Right. So that's a balance to be had in our models, and we'll work towards it.
wonderful. That's good context. So, if there's anything that the last 1 year has taught is the importance of family, health, etc. And so, a lot of people now think a lot more about that. So, would you be able to give us some view of the work-life culture at your organization, and how do you get people to balance their work lives?
Yeah, so another fantastic question, Sashi. You're peppering me with some great questions that are coming across. Uh, See, the reality is we are very sensitive about our employees' mental health, well-being, having a very positive environment in the organization. So And it's not easy in a COVID world, in a remote world. It is absolutely not. Brick and mortar office where we were all together, it's a very different situation. You see people, you know how they feel. You can read emotions on people. In a virtual world, the challenge is that people get influenced by their surroundings. So there's something happening in the family, there's a stressful situation, electricity is out or Wi-Fi is gone while you're working. So many things happen, and it can all lead to stress. So what we did as an organization is, made up our entire approach to people and talent very virtual, remote, enabled, which means we use technology to the max, to the fullest, wherever we could use. uh, we have a very interesting tool that we use, which we co-build with another organization, that actually does mood and how people are feeling kind of analysis, so people can actually talk to the AI chatbot,
Mhm.
and it actually works. The
Wow.
reality is, when we went through that whole thing of should we do it, will people use it, will people not use it, what we ended up finding is people will use it. People use it
Mhm.
in every country, not only in India. So culturally
Mhm.
agnostic, people are actually talking to a bot about how they feel,
Wow.
and I think what we learned is people are somehow a bit more comfortable sometimes to talk to a bot because the bot is not judging them back. It's
Exactly.
very
That
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
So we learned something new out there, that this works. But what we did is, what are we learning from it, and how can we help some people? How can we help actually giving, gather the insights and do something new? So we learned that, okay, people are feeling stressed, they are not getting the time to exercise or do these kind of, so we started kind of like yoga classes, right?
Mhm.
Then we saw another opportunity to bring another organization which provides online platform for kind of mental well-being, meditating, some rhythmic things and those kind of things. So different things, or coaching. It's
Mhm.
also online coaching. So that has been very engaging for employees in general,
Yeah.
right? Now that's all the mental well-being and all those things, but we also had to relearn how to operate in a new virtual world, right?
True.
How to help people figure out what's the new normal. See, the book of professionalism, in my own personal opinion, is outdated now. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a new
True.
book of professionalism, and people don't need to be embarrassed if, let's say, a family member walks
Works.
past right behind your screen, or when you're having a conference call with 20 of your peers, and your daughter runs into the room and wants to have a chat with you. Y- you have to understand that now you have taken work into your family space.
Exactly.
So family is still important, okay?
Mhm.
And in that context, a new book of professionalism has to be written, which should be able to take these kind of anomalies, right,
True.
happening. And I think we all learned some fantastic things in that process, and we learned also how to adjust to these kind of things. So today, when what I feel, at least with my team, and my team is very global, and a lot of people in India and across, we actually have a more stronger family bonding than before. Now they know my kids. Now they know my
Yeah.
wife. I know everyone's wife and kids. So it's a. I think it's a very interesting place that we are in.
Absolutely, Akhilesh. I think earlier the family interactions would be possibly that one family day or annual day. Almost every day is a family day or annual day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, my next question is possibly of interest to a lot of people in the audience. I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of them would be interested in applying for jobs with Genpact. How has the last year impacted your hiring process? In the sense, have you made changes in the way you've been hiring people, changes in processes, changes in expectations, etc.?
Yeah, so see, I think, and it's a fantastic question because it's a two-pronged question that you asked, right? One is the process and one is the expectation.
Expectation, yes.
Yeah. So, see, on the process side, yes, definitely, we have made a huge change. In India, all of us know the traditional walk-ins, right?
Yeah,
Where people used to queue and wait to get in and things like that for interviews. I'm happy that it's ended. I'm so happy. It used to look so physically difficult, okay,
true.
to see people standing in hot sun outside queuing, right, for interviews. And this is not Genpact. This is across India, everywhere. Now
True.
it's so much more better that we have got a virtual way of doing things. That people actually today. We are processing candidates at the speed that we never had. And here's the interesting thing: we are finding candidates scores on engagement and experience actually increasing.
Wow.
So people are actually loving the flexibility that they can come online, get interviewed. So all our platform is now online for interviewing. It's virtual. You apply. And by the way, one thing we have made sure is during this COVID period, we actually made a genuine effort to ensure that when people apply, they get called 100% of the time in 24 hours, right? So anyone who applies into our career portal and jobs, and they will basically get called and assessed, and either you get through to the next round or you don't, but at least you know that someone looked at your profile. Right? That's very important.
Which is so important, Akhilesh. And this is something which we've always tried to address in the past. We call it the black hole, where a person applies to a job and has no clue about what's happening. And
Yeah,
a
yeah.
couple of interesting things that you said. You found that candidate experience is improving,
Yes.
and it on the face of it, it looks counterintuitive. But if you look back, it actually makes sense. You're not standing in the sun. You're not waiting, sweating nervously in the office or the
Yeah.
boardroom, waiting for some very serious-looking people to come and interview you. So you're doing that from the comfort of your home. So obviously, the experience is going to be great, and that's a good insight, Akhilesh.
Exactly, and the reality is, I've been in working for the past 25 years, so I also forget my days of standing in the sun, right? But when I think
Yeah,
about it, uh, you know what? It actually is so different now,
yeah,
and the scalability is very different for companies like ours. Virtually now, we can sit and on online platform, we could basically interview 700, 800, 900 people in a day, in one platform session. And like that, you can have multiple windows and multiple platforms, right? So it's just a different scalability. Now coming to so yeah, so basically we actually have used a lot of technology to make ourselves better and make the experience better. Now coming to the expectation side, which was a very important part of your question. See, candidate expectations, from candidate, what we look at hiring, while I address the softer side of two three elements from our CI square, right? The other thing is hard skills that are there on technology, on anything to do with finance and accounting, or even contact center, is always in high demand, be it
yeah,
Genpact or anywhere in our industry. Those are
yeah,
things that you will always see in high demand. But what now has come as a new vector when we look at candidates, and I think that's true for everyone in our industry, is how comfortable will that person be operating remotely and being independent when they operate, right? So independent productivity, okay, you won't get it from day one. You won't get it probably in a couple of months, but you need to be able to get to that, right, remotely,
true,
because we
true.
don't know how long this will last. We don't know how much of this will last. We don't know if in 12 months everyone is going to rush back to the office, which we don't believe everyone will. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
So from that standpoint, what we look at is how are people going to cope this, how well do they collaborate with people remotely, how well
yeah,
do they engage with people remotely. And the most important thing that we have seen for remote working that has come up now is empathy.
yeah,
How how do they think about the other person's situation and put themselves in their shoes
True.
and can empathize with it, because that is so important in today's. See, when you don't have the physicalness of office, right?
Yep.
Empathy has to be very high,
Yep.
because there are so many cues that you miss.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of bring that forward to understand whom you're dealing with, how you're dealing with. So we check for a lot of those elements that are there, because in reality that's very important for working remotely and working in a new environment.
Yeah. That makes sense, Akhilesh. Now, moving a little into the Genpact culture. I mean,
Yeah.
over the years, Genpact has been such an important company for a lot of young people, right? I mean, in being in the online recruitment industry for about 16 years now, almost as long as it started, I always recall conversations where recruiters say, "Resume में Genpact है, अच्छा होगा, let's shortlist." So that's been in a way a part of the evolving work culture in
Yeah.
India. Given that a lot of youngsters who are now looking to get into Genpact would love to know what's the what's the hierarchy like, in the sense, are we still does is hierarchy very strong, or has it become more flat as they enter, let's say, Genpact?
See, I have been with Genpact even before the Genpact brand was there. We were GE at that time, and then we moved into Genpact, right? I have never felt hierarchy
Okay.
in Genpact. Okay, and see, always there's a career path and there's a hierarchy of roles, but I never felt it as a social hierarchy.
Mhm.
I find all our leaders operating in a very flat structure, very agile and nimble, and also informal for that matter.
Yeah.
We love to focus on our people, love to focus on our clients. These are, people. Clients are also people, so our people orientation is very strong. So when uh, for me, when I look at any graduates coming in, or anyone, I've got a couple of graduates who have come in, who directly report into me, work for me, right? Wherein I've also got at the same time their peers who are 20 plus years of experience, and they're vice president. So it's okay. There's You don't see hierarchy there, right?
True.
And the what we emphasize on is, how do people contribute to each other, how do people share new thinking, and we do need fresh talent from the industry coming in with new ideas, new ways, how what does a new population actually want, that they're the ones that are going to shape the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So for us, we work as a very open platform around it, right? Now, what have we done differently to actually make that even more possible? Is there are two things that we have really invested in, and I'm very happy that we did it, because it's actually reaping a lot of benefits for us as well as our employees. One is called Talent Match. The other one is called Genome. So, Talent Match is basically matching great talent to job opportunities internally.
Yep.
So where we were always at about 20 to 23% of internal moves into
Mm.
jobs, because of COVID, and because now our muscle on Talent Match is so evolved and strong, we are at about 42% of
Wow.
internal job. So when you join in for a job, but you basically have the ability to move to other jobs and do different things and learn new things. Now, coming to that learning quotient, you just can't jump from one job to another job and say hallelujah and there I go, right?
Yeah.
You have to prepare for it.
Yeah.
So Genome is where we actually have this whole skill taxonomy that basically says, for a particular job, everyone, 100,000 of our employees actually are on Genome. They have basically self-assessed themselves on different skills for different jobs, and based on that skill taxonomy, you have got learning material. You can actually learn. It's democratized learning. So there are these a lot of content that we have curated into our platform, where You can learn, let's say, storytelling. You want to be better at storytelling, you can actually go through a transformative journey of different levels of proficiency on storytelling. And
Yeah.
it's all self-paced, self-learning. That's why that curiosity part of our
Yeah.
culture is very important. If you're not curious, you'll not use these kind of things. If you don't use these kind of things, then how are you
You
making
will not
yourself
be able to
fungible?
focus.
Yeah. And how will you make yourself fungible for the future? How are you actually future proofing yourself?
Sure.
See, we all know automation is here to stay, right? Jobs will get automated over a period of time. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you stay ahead of it? The only way to stay ahead of getting all your jobs automated is keep on upskilling yourself.
True.
And that's where genome and talent match as a combination is such a powerful combination, where our employees know that they can keep on upskilling themselves and learn new things and do even more complex jobs. And you do the better the job, the better the complexity and all those things, you just improve yourself over a period
Sure.
of time.
So would I be right in saying that if you've picked up some skills using Genome, that'll show up when there's a corresponding search on talent match? Would that
Yes,
be?
yes, yes. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. So basically, what we do is all our employees on Genome are basically, there, and they are there on Talent Match. So it's our internal repository. So all these are interlinked. So
Yeah.
when even before we go out on the market, and Genpact hires a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even before we go out on the market, the first opportunity is to Talent Match. We are
Wow.
very clear about it.
So in a lot of ways, the future is in your hands, as in
Yeah,
the in the
into the
employee
employee's
side.
hands. Yeah, completely into the employee's hands. They can shape their career. They can build what they want to build for themselves. We as employers can only be platforms for their success. What else can we do more than that?
Yeah, yeah, true. So, Akhilesh, when we started, we said we'll keep this interactive and we'll
Yeah,
take audience questions. But
sure.
and there are quite a lot flowing in. But before I get there, I had two questions which I most definitely wanted to ask you. And in a way, both of these are sort of mirrors of each other. For a young professional today in India, why would they consider Genpact?
It's a very simple answer in my mind. If you want to do things that actually are connected with very purposeful things in the world. Our purpose statement has recently been released, right?
Yeah,
It is about making the world a better place for everyone. We actually believe in that. And
yeah,
when if I as a HR person say that, I believe for my employees, all 100,000 people, I want to
yeah.
make it better place for them.
Mhm.
I want everyone to succeed and do something different and create something for them. If you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to do something meaningful, and if you want to be happy about whom you work with, very importantly, right,
Yeah.
join Genpact.
Wow, that sounds good. So, which leads me to my next question. I mean, in the last few years, companies have increasingly realized that diversity and inclusion actually makes businesses better
Totally.
and make them absolutely fit for the new age. So, what are some of the great diversity and inclusion programs that Genpact has that you can possibly share about in for our audience today?
Sure, sure, absolutely. See, I think diversity, inclusion, as well as racial equity, for us is very, very important. And in its truest sense, we actually drive this across the board, right from hiring to employee engagement, performance management, talent management, mentorship programs, internship programs, and things like that. So, one of the big ones that I think is very famous in India also, if I'm not mistaken, is Career 2.0, right?
Yeah,
Are bringing women who have taken a break from work because of maternity coming back into Genpact. That's been something that we started quite a few years ago, and it goes every year. It runs very, very strongly every year. And if you see our diversity numbers are pretty fantastic from that standpoint.
yeah,
One is that program. The other one we actually focused on outside of India also, because what we have seen is Interestingly, in India and a lot of places, we actually don't have a, let's say, gender diversity issue at all. Uh,
Yeah.
we have a pretty strong parity between the population around gender diversity. But what we saw is in certain countries or certain places, without going into depths and naming names, we have seen in certain segments the women representation itself is very low. So we actually go more grassroots on that level, and we actually basically look at partnering with NGOs, CSR angle of actually helping women or underprivileged people actually develop new skills and contribute our own time in coaching and training those people to get back into work life. So there's a lot of different angles to this, but yes, it's one of the biggest agendas which we seriously take within the organization.
That's great to hear, Akhilesh. And my next question is going to be an audience question. I want to live to
Sure.
the promise I made, and this connects well with what you just spoke about, Careers 2.0, and about getting people back after a break.
Yep.
Now, this question is not from just a Genpact lens, but overall industry lens. How do companies today in India view career gaps in resumes? Would Genpact be open to hiring people with a significantly large gap?
Yeah, for a justified reason, yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
of course. See,
yeah,
the reality with the career gap is people have a gap because they made certain choices in life,
yeah.
right? It could be personal choices, it could be going back and taking care of family, it could be going back and taking care of, an ailing parent or whatever it is. But things happen and personal life does take over, and you have to respect that. So career gap doesn't mean that the person is not competent. That's the most ridiculous thing to think about.
Yeah,
I actually think that if a person has a career gap, then they might have experienced something beyond job that actually shapes them. Now,
sure.
as long as they can bring that perspective, so that's why it's also very important for people to understand that don't just do look at a job and say job description, the tick mark, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I've got these 10 things. You might not have all 10 things, and you don't need to have 10 things, right?
yeah,
What you need to do is in your interviews and everything, bring yourself, who you are, what can you contribute, how can you add value, what skills do you bring to the table. You might not bring exactly the same skill, but you might bring something else. And
true,
employers do take bets on people who actually shine differently.
true. That's good to hear, Akhilesh. Now, sort of slightly switching gears,
Yeah.
we have a lot of people from the talent acquisition space as well in the audience, so this is
Okay.
for their benefits. How has talent acquisition evolved over the last 1 year? What are the top skills that talent acquisition folks need to focus on to be relevant as we go through this pandemic and beyond?
I think it's been a stressful time for TA people
Yeah,
to to do things so differently. And to all my talent acquisition, community, my heartfelt kudos to all of you for actually shining through. So great job done. Even in pandemic, a lot of people hired, right? I find talent acquisition, and I truly believe that. I tell that to my team also. I find it as the most one of the most noblest of professions.
true,
So it's not about just getting people in. It's about giving people jobs, and it's one
absolutely.
of the most important things that you could do. What more noble profession do you want than that? Now, of course, when you say that, you also carry the burden to do it flawlessly well. And what I've seen is in this pandemic situation where there was such a heightened stress among everyone, right? Not just the business not knowing what to do, how to do, the HR community is not knowing how to react to this new pandemic. What is employee health and safety? The candidates saying, "Oh no, there's a ambiguity. I don't know where my life is going to be. I thought I'm going to get graduated and go on to a job. Now I've got all." I think the biggest thing that I've seen talent acquisition teams who did this well do well is have a lot of patience and a lot of empathy. The resilience factor just shot through the roof for talent acquisition, and I think
Wow.
it's going to be a big muscle for everyone, right? you will see stress, you will see these kind of challenges. The the ball stops at hiring the talent acquisition community. You still have a job to do, and the way you do it is what people will remember, right?
True.
Not what you did, but the way you do it. So taking care of the candidates, being empathetic to them, it's tough times, things happen. You still have to put a smile and cater to everyone, right? Everyone is your client. And I think that will continue, that theme will continue. Now beyond that, the other thing that I've seen is the difference between great ta person and a good ta person is the adoption of technology.
Wow.
Great ta people will adopt technology and will know how to use it to their benefit.
True.
So you have to decide whether you want to be good or great, right?
True.
And that's the simple difference between that. So these are two things I'll leave our ta community with.
Yeah, Akhilesh, I love the point that you said that it's not just a job, right? You're actually helping people find a professional life. So at Indeed, we take pride in saying we help people get jobs. So I think that's something which, as an organization, as a community, talent acquisition should be really proud of.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
which brings me to the next audience question, which is what are Genpact's plans for hiring freshers in 2021? Any thoughts on your campus plans, if possible? It's been a stressful year for this final year students as well,
Yes.
not just in India, across the world. So I'm sure there are a lot of anxious freshers who want to know if they stand a chance of getting into Genpact this year.
Yes, I would say so. And I think we are reopening a lot of the other things that we used to do. So academies are internally also being reopened and things like that. I opened this whole conversation with a very positive outlook. I still maintain very positive outlook. I know numbers that we are looking for, and it's pretty significant. So I would say for the fresher community, for the people who are graduating, be optimistic, at least from a Genpact standpoint.
That sounds good, Akhilesh. That's pretty good advice. Would you be able to, and this is the next audience question, could you be able to give us some insight as much as possible into the growth trajectory at Genpact?
Yeah, so see, if I can ask a clarifying question, growth trajectory in which sense?
In the sense, how is the business doing at Genpact? As in, how is
How
it growing? And yeah,
Okay, got it. So, see, Genpact business itself, we are growing. We are growing significantly. So I'm very happy about it. Yes, but the buck stops again, like I said, at talent acquisition. So our teams are really working hard to fulfill the demand. What we have seen is our clients actually opened up on a very positive note. uh, you know uh, our last year's financial results were also good, so that's something that everyone has seen in the public sphere. And when you start looking at the effects of a COVID year financial result being good, means the next year is definitely
it's
also
good.
looking,
Absolutely.
yeah, is looking very positive. So when you start looking from a job or talent standpoint, I would say whoever is listening to this, feel free to apply. Because we are hiring, and we are hiring in breakneck speed on multiple sectors, be it freshers, be it people with experience, finance and accounting, or chartered accountants, or even a lot of technical skills. So, and everyone knows the hottest skills on the market are, Java and full stack and those kind of things. So I'm not a techie, so I can just say the skills, but you can definitely look at our job openings.
That sounds wonderful, Akhilesh. Now, as we come towards the end of today's session, one personal question, if I may. A lot of people have picked up quite a few new hobbies or activities over pandemic. Is there anything specific that you've liked doing in the last 1 year?
Yeah, I think I, I I was never a gardener.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think I'm still a gardener. But my wife thinks I'm a good helper for lifting all the heavy things. So, so, so because of this pandemic, I have ended up being very useful at home, getting our garden sorted out and lifting 20 kilos of manure up and down. So, well, I've learned that some of these things actually are good. I'm while I'm jesting and joking about it, but the reality is taking a break from normal work and doing something which is a bit manual and physical intensive. I think there's a good thing in that. I find myself refreshed actually.
Sure. Thank you so much, Akhilesh. This was wonderful having you here today. We have a pretty large audience, a lot of them anxious about jobs, about careers. I'm sure a lot of them picked up a lot of tips and tricks and also some insights, great insights into how Genpact functions, what people can look forward to if they join Genpact in terms of developing themselves, not just from a career perspective, but also from a knowledge perspective, and how you are able to do a whole load of diverse jobs within Genpact through your genome system where they can pick up new skills and get mapped to new talent, and also some great insights into diversity and how that's important for Genpact going forward. So I will start ending this, Akhilesh, with something which you started with. You said all your jobs are available on your career site and on platforms like Indeed. So anybody here who's interested in applying to a job in Genpact, please go over to Indeed or go to the Genpact career site, find the job that suits you, and apply for those jobs.
Absolutely. And Sashi, thank you so much for hosting this, and thank you, People Matters, Indeed, and Jobs 2.0 team for making this successful. And everyone who's listening to me, be positive, and don't worry. This things are slowly getting better, but definitely getting better.
Thank you so much, Akhilesh. So that's all for now, but we will be live again next week on Thursday at 11 a.m. So please don't forget to tune in then. Thank you, everybody.